All right, welcome everyone to another session of AF Digital's Masterclass series. Once again, our topic for today's webinar is all about Social Studio. In the last session, we discussed more of an introduction to Social Studio, what it is and what are its main capabilities for its users. And if you're joining us from the previous session, welcome back. But if you're a newcomer to this webinar, don't worry, we'll be having a quick recap of some of the things that were discussed in the last session. Today's topic is all about leveraging Social Studio for your business. It's more on the practical application of some of the features of Social Studio, particularly when it comes to social listening, and we'll briefly also touch on what we call social customer service. But before any of that, allow me to show you what's in line for the next webinars coming up with AF Digital's Masterclass. So for Social Studio, we still do have another session next week that will be on the 21st of April, or same time. And this one will be all about Social Studio Automate and Social Studio Command Center. Social Studio Automate and Command Center, these are supplementary platforms for Social Studio that can help you out when you want to automate certain tasks in Social Studio. And the Command Center provides a quick overview and dashboard that you can actually display on your screens to display real-time data wherever you are. And then for the other topics, we also have how to manage your service requests and how to configure Salesforce. If you haven't already signed up to these webinars, I highly encourage you guys to do so. There's still two more remaining for each of those. That will be tomorrow on April 15th and also next week on the 22nd of April. We still do have other topics regarding Salesforce products, Salesforce platforms, and other things. And if you're interested in checking those out, you can go to this link that you see here on top. On our website, www.afdigital.com. Just type in afdigital-salesforce-masterclass. And of course, if you haven't already, please also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That's at afdigitalsocial, and also like us on Facebook. That's at afdigitalsocial as well. So to get things started, let's have a quick rundown of the things that will be discussed today. As promised, I will have a quick recap of the previous session, just some of the key concepts that were introduced and some of the things that we'll be going back to in this discussion. And then we'll be moving over to what social listening is, what are the benefits of social listening, and the different types of social listening. And then related to that is the next topic, which is all about the topic profile, how you can use the topic profile when it comes to social listening, and generally just building a topic profile, what are the steps and some general tips that I can show you when building a topic profile and optimizing it. And then topic profiles for different types of listening. I'll be showing you some examples that I made for each type of listening that we have for social listening. And then at the end, we'll be touching the topic of social customer service briefly, just a high-level overview and maybe a glimpse of the architecture and all the products that's involved when it comes to social customer service. And then at the end, I'll be dedicating a short time. I think the last session, I didn't have enough time to have a question and answer portion, but I'll try my best to actually wrap up this webinar real quick so that we still have some moment to discuss any questions that you guys may have. Of course, if you do have any questions that comes into your mind, just feel free to type that in the GoToWebinar questions. And at the end, I can answer that, any questions that you guys may have. Okay, so for a quick session recap of the things that were discussed last time, what Social Studio is, it's a powerful social media management tool that's not just for your publishers, content creators, engagement managers, and research analysts. Basically, it's a one-stop solution for any of your social media needs. And there are two fundamental things that make it one. Basically, the data sources, one of which is your actual social media accounts. So the big names when it comes to social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the logos you're seeing right there now. These are the supported networks that count as social accounts in Social Studio. And any activity within those accounts let's say wall posts, replies, comments, private messages. These all come into Social Studio through the social accounts. And the other thing that we have, and what's often referred to within Social Studio as the heart of Social Studio, is what we call the topic profiles. So topic profiles, basically these are keyword-based queries used for social listening. And the main difference between the topic profiles and social accounts is that for social accounts, it captures in-page activity, while topic profiles, on the other hand, catches off-page mentions. And to provide a clear example is that, let's say a person tweets and tags the official account of a particular brand, that will go into the social account. If that person just mentions the name of the brand without tagging the official account of that particular brand, and that name, or let's say the name of the brand is within that topic profile, it's a keyword in that topic profile, it will be harvested by the topic profile instead. And topic profiles actually scrolls different platforms such as blogs, forums, tweets, Instagram comments, as well as mainstream news sites and aggregators as well. And actually scrolls those media platforms in search of those keywords in that topic profile, gathers them up, and harvest them within Social Studio. So these are the two main data sources in Social Studio. We have the social accounts and the topic profiles. When we're talking about the capabilities of Social Studio, there's three main components of it, which is basically publish, engage, and analyze. Publish is where you schedule and create your content to your social media accounts. Engage is where you interact and send, brand communication from your brand to your customers. And analyze allows you to understand how your social pages and content are performing with the given built-in reporting tool that we can find in Social Studio. So some of the major features of each of these major components. For publish, everything is built around the calendar. You can schedule things in the calendar. If you're looking for something specific, maybe a previous post that you might have, you can utilize the filters to quicken that search. You can leave comments, information and suggestion to other members of the team within Social Studio Publish through the notes that you can leave in the calendar. You can also organize the posts you're making by any means that you would like, such as campaign or the target market that you would want to have based on the publish labels. So you can attach any publish label to any post that you're creating, again, to possibly track campaigns or what the purpose of that particular post is. And then we also have several publish features that simplify certain tasks in order for your users to save time when creating content when publish, such as the publish macros, which accomplishes your sets predefined settings on a post in a single click, as well as shared content, which is reuses content that you basically that you regularly utilize in the things that you publish on your social media accounts. And last but not least, for publish, we also have the performance tab, which basically shows you some metrics and the general performance of how your social posts are performing on your different social media accounts without having to access your accounts on their native websites. So instead of having to go to Facebook Insights, you can see the opens, the reach, the likes, the comments, shares, as well as the paid and organic reach and all the other different metrics just by simply accessing it within Social Studio. And then for engage, there are columns and tabs as well as filters in order for you to prioritize how your data comes in and how you want your data to look like when, in Social Studio, in order for you to prioritize which messages or which media types to respond to first. By clicking on a post, you bring up the post inspector. So with the post inspector, you can perform various engage tasks such as responding to the customer, tagging posts, which involves setting the classification or setting post and author labels to that particular post, as well as the priority and the sentiment of that post. You can do that with the post inspector. And then much like publish, there's also several features that improve productivity for the users by simplifying tasks, such as the response templates, which sends out scripted responses in a single click, as well as macros, which performs all the different taggings that you have predefined, you've set in a single click. And then last but not the least, with Analyze, there are three major components to it, which is the dashboards. First, dashboards are standardized reports that allows you to get a quick overview of the data with predefined cards, such as what you're seeing right now, the post volume, the top words, media type trend. So if you want to check out your data just without having to drill down or get a deeper insight on it, you can use dashboards. But if you do want to drill down on your data, maybe look for a specific segment. Let's say if you want to see within the entire volume of the topic profile, you want to see how many are from United States and how many from there are aged 18 to 24 and how many said this particular word. If you want to do that, what you can do is actually make use of workbenches. And the last but not for Analyze is that if you want to have an export, a PDF or CSV export of your data or your social data, and you want to do that on a scheduled basis, you can rely on reports instead. So you can set it to daily, weekly, or monthly in order to receive an email or notification of the PDF or CSV report of a specific dashboard or specific social account and topic profile that you have selected. All right, so now that we have discussed just some key concepts in Social Studio, it's time to move on to what social listening is all about and how topic profiles come into the picture. So a very intellectual character once said, it is a capital mistake to theorize before one has the data. And although Sherlock Holmes is a fictional character, it is nonetheless true. What he said is nonetheless true, especially in today's business landscape. Almost all businesses right now are in survival mode, and every decision that they make from here on out can determine if they come out on top once everything eventually and hopefully goes back to normal. And when you're making these kinds of crucial key business decisions, it's very important that you have the data to back it up. And this data can come from anywhere. It can even come from your sales data or other metrics that are coming from your company, or you have an internal reportings or analytics platform. But one thing that you should probably consider, and something that's already being put out there by your customers themselves, is the social data. So now more than ever, people have more access to social media, given that a lot of people are cooped up in their houses due to quarantines and lockdowns. They have the most capability of going to social media as of date. And these people are saying a lot of things from different brands, and it's the data is there, the raw data is there. It's just a matter of whether or not you will listen to what these people are saying. And this is what social listening entails. So basically, social listening is tracking mentions and conversations relevant to your business on social media platforms in order for you to gain insight. And there are many benefits of social listening, some of which are first, it allows you to identify trends and patterns by allowing you to look at and see things that are commonly associated with your brand, be it positive or negative. So if it's positive, it may be something it can affect by allowing you to identify trends and patterns. You can make corresponding step or plan of action corresponding to what you found out. So if it's positive, it may do something to or publish content that will reinforce that positive influence. If it's something negative, maybe you can change something in your existing communication plan with your customers that can possibly address whatever negative feedback is coming from your social data. Aside from that, it also allows you to match your competitors' actions. It allows you to see what your competitors are posting and publishing, how people react to whatever they're posting. And with that, it also allows you to respond with content of your own. If what your competitor is doing is effective and you're seeing high engagement and positive feedback from your customers, maybe it's something that you might want to replicate with your own business. So do a similar step of action. But if it's something that's being negatively reacted to by your customers or the customers in their industry, it's maybe something you'd want to avoid doing so in your communication plan in the future when it comes to social media. And also, probably one of the most important things that it allows you to do is it allows you to spot a crisis well before it begins. by finding potential social posts that can spark a social media wildfire as soon as it comes up. I think it's not a new thing that we all know that a single negative thing can change, a single negative tweet or single negative statement from anyone in the social media sphere can change the entire perception of a brand when it comes to their customers. And the good thing with being an active social listener is that you can pay attention to these things way before it becomes uncontrollable. And the way you can do social listening is you can do social listening natively in the platform itself, let's say on Facebook or Twitter as well. But it doesn't allow you to maximize the full capability because it's not built for that. So with Social Studio is built for that specific purpose. You have topic profiles, which gathers the social data, provides the raw data in order for you to gain insight and make the proper course of action. But so when you're doing social listening, you can essentially divide it into three main focus. One is if you want to listen to what people are saying about you, this would be all about brand listening. If you want to listen into what people are saying about your customers, your competitors rather, this would be on the competitor listening. And for if you generally just want to listen on the thoughts and feedback of your customers in the industry, that would be the industry listening. And each of these types of listening, we can do that in Social Studio with the topic profiles. And later on, I'll be showing you some general tips and as well as how to build a topic profile in order to accommodate these types of listening. But in order to do that, it's better to have a general understanding or a deeper understanding of topic profiles in order to build it properly and optimize it. So we're going to be discussing the anatomy of topic profiles. So a topic profile is composed of at least one keyword group. And in that particular keyword group, it's composed of keywords that must either be contained or not included in a social post. So as you can see, it can either be contained or excluded in that particular social post. Later on, I'll be building a topic profile from scratch just so that these concepts are further explained or further cleared for you guys. And then another key component when it comes to building topic profiles is what we call the source groups. So source groups allow you to define a set of sources that you want your topic profile to specifically look at. So it can be the form of an RSS feed, such as what you're seeing here, the XML link that you're seeing here, a Twitter handle, so basically a person or an account within Twitter. You can include that as a source group, or a URL, maybe a website, and also a Facebook page using the Facebook ID or the name of that particular Facebook page. And then you have an option whether you want to exclude that content or include all of the content coming from that source, or include only the keyword matched content. And you might be wondering, what's the use case of listening to specific sources when what you want is actually scrolling everything in social media? So the use case of source groups when it comes to creating social media, when it comes to creating topic profiles, is that when you're creating a topic profile, say for brand listening, you want to listen to anything that about your brand relevant to what your customers are saying. So you do not want to include any posts that are coming from your accounts. So normally, one particular use case is that create a source group containing all the social media accounts of your brand and include that in the topic profile and exclude all content coming from that. This is to ensure that all the data that's coming from this topic profile is coming directly from the customers, not their social media accounts. So let's say your topic profile gets around 100 of these posts. That may be large, but if you don't include the source group that excludes all your social media accounts, and you find out about 60% of those is coming from your actual social media accounts, then there's no use looking at then the 100 total posts that were gathered by the topic profile turns out to be inaccurate because most of it is coming from you. Another main use of source groups or a use case for source groups is that when you want to listen to a particular page, specifically interest pages such as fan pages or your brand appreciation pages. So if your brand is big enough, sometimes there would be fan pages dedicated to your accounts, dedicated to your brand. And what you want is actually to listen to anything that these pages are saying. And aside from that, there's some pages or Facebook pages or websites dedicating to making reviews of products that you're part of the industry in. And what you can do is actually create a source group of these fan pages or review pages or review sites and put them all in a source group. And instead of excluding them, you can include all content or include only the keywords matched for your content. So anytime that these fan pages post something about you, it comes into the topic profile. Okay, so let's go over to the actual Social Studio. So in order to understand a better, have a better understanding of topic profile, let's create right now one from scratch. So let's say I wanted to create a topic profile for the Salesforce, for the AF Digital Masterclass series that we're making. So I'm going to name this AF Digital Webinar Masterclass. And what I can have for each of the keyword groups, as you know, each topic profile can be made of several keyword groups. I can have a keyword group dedicated for, let's say, each of the topics. So we have a keyword group for Social Studio, and we also have topics for webinars. So we have we have other keyword groups for Service Cloud, and then Datorama, and Sales Cloud, and all that other stuff. So in this one, this is a keyword group for Social Studio, the webinar that I'm doing. I can choose what type of keyword group type this is, although this is just mainly for how you want the data to be seen or how do you want the data to be referenced when it comes to analyze. Basically, this is just the logo that will be reflected in the topic profile. So let's say this is for brand. So what I can do is in the contains keyword, these are the different components when you go into keyword groups. So we have the contains, and we also have the exclude. Anything that you put in the contains keyword, so in this example, all about the AF Digital Webinar for Social Studio specifically, I can put social and webinar, or social and AF Digital. So what this means is that each of these keywords is actually in an or statement. So every keyword here is in an or statement. So if a post comes in, whether or not it will be gathered by or be harvested by the topic profile depends on whether or not it meets these keywords. So it must either have social and webinar, or it must either have social and AF Digital. Now, in here you can actually instead of actually having to do this, social and AF Digital and social and webinar in the contains keywords. If you have, let's say, about 50 keywords within the contains keyword box, and all of them contains the word AF Digital, then you might as well use the and contains keywords. So to give you an example of what this does, so let me put in the social and webinar again. And this time, put AF Digital on the and contains keywords box. What this means now is it's going to get posts that must either have social and AF Digital or webinar and AF Digital. So basically, this just changes how the general logic of how the posts come into Social Studio, whether or not it will be harvested by that topic profile. Last but not the least, we also have what we call the exclusion. So if you want specific keywords, if these keywords are present in that particular social post, you want them to be excluded, you put them in the exclude keywords. So let's say I do have a webinar and then it's for AF Digital, but let's just say that it's being it's from way back. So let's say it's post from 2010. If that post contains the 2010 webinar AF Digital, but I only want to listen for the webinar that we have for 2020, and that post contains the 2010 keyword, that will not be included in the topic profile. Another thing that you can actually add when it comes to optimizing your topic profile or building your topic profile is what we call the keyword proximity. So keyword proximity, when I say, let's say I want to join or I want to be in a webinar, or I want to have a webinar, I want to join a webinar. But what this does is, you can see, if you notice here, there's a 0 on the end of it. What this means is that right now, the proximity for this particular keyword is set to 0. What this means is that the keyword that I put in this particular single keyword has to be in that exact wording or in that exact order. When they say, I want to be in a webinar, it can't have any words in between each of these words in that particular keyword. However, if I put in, let's say, about five proximity, what this does now is it allows words in between these particular keywords to be present. And this is actually especially important when you're actually trying to narrow your topic profile down with by eliminating noise. And what this does is actually provides context instead of just having I want and then webinar. I want and webinar. So what this does is that people often, when they talk in English, is that they don't actually all speak this, all say it that way. I can say, I really, really want to be in a webinar. I really want to be part of a great webinar. I really want to be part of a Salesforce webinar. If I set that proximity to 0, none of those particular posts will be pulled in. That's because it has to be in this exact statement. But with the proximity set to 5, now then I can allow certain words in between these words in the keyword to be included. So long as that fits within the number of the proximity that you find, even if they say I really want or I want to be part of a great webinar, that will be pulled in by the topic profile. So that's basically how you create the topic profile. Topic profile is essentially just optimizing it by minimizing the amount of noise using exclusion keywords as well as the proximity. Let's take a look at closer look at some example by proceeding to the next topic we have. But first, let me show you some general tips when building a topic profile. So the number one thing that you have to understand when you're building a topic profile for social listening is that noise will always be there. It's sorry, I skipped way ahead in that one. That noise will always be there. What this means is that you can't eliminate irrelevant mentions, or you can't be 100% free of irrelevant mentions. You can only lessen it to an acceptable level. So long as the ratio of relevant or significant mentions for your brand is higher than the noise or irrelevant mentions, then that is at an acceptable level, and then that means your topic profile is well optimized. So you can never 100% eliminate noise. The other thing is that use keyword proximity. So the one thing that Salesforce actually monitors is the monthly volume, or the estimated monthly volume that your topic profile creates. And depending on what your agreement with your Salesforce executive is, or the contract that they provided you with, you can only have a certain limit. Let's say you can only have around 500,000 estimated monthly volume of your topic profiles, because each topic profile, once you save them based on the keywords, it calculates an estimate of how much it's going to pull in, and that's what's being matched. That's what's being monitored by Salesforce. The number, the estimated monthly volume that you're pulling in. And if you want to, manage that to a certain level, you want to have maximize the given limit that you have to use keyword proximity. So instead of having to always use the and contains keyword, which basically gets any post that has those two keywords, keyword 1 and keyword 2, what you're doing with keyword proximity is you're providing much more conversational context so that it gets more specific mentions that fall in that particular keyword phrase that you're creating. Another general tip that I can provide you guys when you're building a topic profile is that you have to maintain consistency, or you have to maintain the integrity of your topic profile. So when you're creating a topic profile, it's basically a trial and error, and in the sense that you create your first draft and you take a look at, you create the topic profile dashboard in Analyze, and you check the data if it's all relevant mentions, or if there's high noise level. And then what you'll often see some mentions there that are quite unique. And what I can advise that you refrain from adding certain keywords that you've only seen referenced by a few of your customers only a few times. That is because if you keep adding keywords that are not being regularly associated with your brand, you risk increasing the noise level, because as you know, a lot of words can mean two things. So my advice is, in order to maintain consistency, you regularly review how much of these words are being used when it comes to your brand or being associated with your brand, and only add them if you've seen enough, or you've seen them being used in a regular basis, that you can confidently say that, okay, this is part of my brand. This is what people talk about when it comes to my brand. And the last piece of advice I can give you when it comes to generally when building a topic profile is that you have to start out broad first and then narrow. So going back to Social Studio, here's an example that we'll be taking a closer look later on. In the topic profile, you can even further set what type of data to gather from the different sources. So you have the source group, which either excludes or includes specific content from any of the sources in them. And then you also have what we call the topic profile filters. So basically, once the keywords are matched within the keywords group and they're ingested by the topic profiles, they're further filtered out based on what language that post is in, what specific media type that is in. Is it from Instagram images? Is it from forum replies or mainstream news? Or even which region did it come in from? So my advice going back to this one is you start out broad and then you narrow it down. That is because if you start creating a topic profile with a lot of filters already applied, you risk losing out on plenty of the data that's because you started out so narrow. It's much easier to get a general, do a reverse triangle or reverse pyramid when you're creating a topic profile and get as much data as you can, and then check if your data is at an acceptable noise level. If it's not, narrow it down. But it's much easier to do that rather than doing it the opposite way and starting it from the narrowest possible setting and then working your way to the broader side of things. So these are just some general tips when building a topic profile. So going back to the different kind of social listening that are being focused on. So brand listening, competitor listening, and industry listening. So let's start off with brand listening. So you want to do brand listening. And with brand listening, the goal is essentially to listen to and understand what people are saying about your brand specifically. So when you're making keywords for that particular brand, for that particular topic profile, you're going to use keywords such as the words and names relevant to your brand, such as the name of your brand itself. Let's say if you're let's say Apple, you're going to use the Apple as your one of your main keywords. The name of your product, let's say the iPhone or the iMac or the iPod. These are the types of keywords and keyword groups that you might have in that topic profile. As for the source group, when you're doing a brand listening source group, as I've introduced a while ago, it's best to create a source group with your different social media accounts and exclude it from that topic profile to ensure that whatever is coming into your topic profile is coming only purely from your customers themselves and not in your social media accounts. Whatever you post does not affect whatever account that returns. And when you're drawing insight from your brand listening and how to draw insight, what I can just suggest is that create a dashboard and look for specific posts such as complaints or posts that have high engagement to spot crises. And with the Analyze dashboard, as you'll see later on, you can see in the volume trend metric card, you can see specific spikes on particular date, and you can actually make use of what we call a feature in Social Studio, the threshold alert, which sends out an email or notification if a particular a particular number or percentage of posts have suddenly exceeded, which is not normal for your brand. And you can use that to monitor for upcoming or crises in the making. So let's take, for example, in this case, Sony PlayStation. So if you're not aware, PlayStation actually announced that they were actually recently announced that they were going to be releasing PlayStation 5. So imagine if you're working for Sony PlayStation, these are some of the keywords and keyword groups that you'll be building, and particularly what you'll be listening for, and how to draw insights for this particular brand. So I'm from Sony PlayStation, that's from a, and the only thing I'm interested in is, I know that Sony PlayStation reaches a lot of audience, and I'm only particularly interested, since this is a global release, I'm setting the regions to any, but I'm only particularly interested in those that are, in the English language, those posts that I can actually understand. And some of the keyword groups that you can find for brand listening for Sony PlayStation is, of course, the brand itself, Sony and PlayStation. So that's PlayStation, PS, either Sony and PlayStation, or PS and Sony. And I want to do specific listening for PlayStation 5, mainly to get feedback on some of the things that I'm showing them, some of the teasers or the trailers, or some of the early images of the design that I've been showing them. So PS5, PlayStation. I also want to compare this later on with how much media attention or social media attention this is getting as compared to the other old models, or the or the PlayStation 4. And lastly, I also want to see, there's two types of controllers that I've just recently released. Previously, it was called DualShock, and now it's DualSense. So those are the keywords group that I've put in this topic profile. And then the source group, what I did was actually included all the PlayStation accounts. So basically, it was just one. And I put it in there because I found out when I was looking at that particular account that they're very, very regular when it comes to posting stuff regarding the PlayStation, especially since it's just been recently announced. I've also included Sony as well in that, just to make sure that only posts that are coming from customers are coming in. But so I've also set that to exclude all content from all the PlayStation accounts. But for the fan pages, on the other hand, I've actually put there's actually a PlayStation Moments fan page that posts everything all about PlayStation in the past few years, as well as the recent announcements from PlayStations. And from here, you can see different feedback or different posts related to anything PlayStation. So I want to include that, and I want to listen to that particularly. So I'm going to put that as a source group and include all keyword match content for any of the keyword groups within here. So if I want to take a look at that, also once I save that once I save the topic profile, proceed to analyze, I can take a look at the dashboard, and from here I can draw different insights. So the first thing I can do is, as I mentioned, I just want to see basically how many people are mentioning the PlayStation brand, or PS and Sony, or the Sony and PlayStation. So I can filter out the dashboard to only show that particular keyword group. And it's going to show me a total. So about 161,000 people actually posted about the brand PlayStation, PS4, Sony. And mostly it's about the different keywords as well. Includes the different keywords as well from the other keyword groups that we have. So now I want to take a look at, so I just recently announced the PlayStation 5. I know I released a new type of controller, and I want to get a feedback on the design that I have chosen for the new types of controller that I've sent out. So in order to do that, I can take a look at this one, controllers. And as you can see, there's actually a lot of people saying different feedback from people saying, you're giving their 2 cents or their thoughts regarding the new controllers design. You can see how many are positive or how many are negative based on that, and you can either send this out to your development team saying, hey guys, I think a lot of people really like our the new design for the controller, so I think there's not much changes that you should do. But on the other hand, if there's a lot of negative posts coming in, what you can say to them, maybe you can consider some improvements or some designs that are probably being said by your customers. On the other hand, we also have, for different influencers that we have, let's say, for example, in this one, these are the top influencers that are, talking about whatever keywords that you might have related to your brand. And this is actually being automatically being determined by Social Studio. Who are these top influencers, or who are most likely to gain a lot of engagement or gain a lot of interaction from your. And what you can do is actually you can tap these actual resources or these accounts in order to provide a comprehensive review. You can ask them about their opinion, or you can ask them for recommendations, or you can tap them as an endorser for your particular brand. So that's just one example of how you can draw insights when you're doing brand listening with topic profile. So basically what you do is that you create topic profile consisting of all the things you specifically want to pay attention to, specific to your brand, such as a specific product, a specific release that you have, and obviously a general brand keyword group. And then you can also have the source groups that excludes all your social media accounts, and a source group that includes all the social fan pages that you have. And you can draw insights using the analyze dashboards using that. So that's one focus of brand listening, social listening, which is brand listening. The other thing that we have is what we call competitor listening. This one is more on the focus of your competitors. So the goal this time is to see what your competitors are publishing or what your customers are saying about them. So when you're actually talking about what keywords to put in, this will be similar to the brand, but this time for the competitors. So the products, the names, the slogans that are being used by your competitors, this is what you actually put into the topic profile. As for the source group, when you're building the topic profile for competitor listening, you create a source group of your competitors and their different social media accounts, and then you either want to include that if you want to check their posts, or you can exclude it if you just want to see the customer data. Then drawing insights, one of the best things that you can actually take a look at when you're doing competitor listening using topic profiles is to look for posts that does comparison with your brand against your competitors, and gain insight or gain feedback from that. So let's take a closer look at an example. Qantas, it's an airline from Australia, and what I did was actually compose a topic profile that's based on the competitors of Qantas and their different competitors when it comes to the APAC region. So taking a look at Qantas competitors, here are some of the keywords that are in there. So what I did is that each keyword group represents a competitor, and each of these competitors have their own respective keywords within that keyword group. And then I've only set the region to the relevant regions, the relevant countries within the APAC region. And as for the source group, I want to exclude Qantas as well as all posts from the competitors as well, because I want to see my share of voice when I take a look at the analyze dashboard. I want to take a look at how well I'm performing as compared to these competitors that I have in the APAC region. So if we take a look at the analyze dashboard again, from here, there's actually a keyword group metric card that you're seeing right here that shows you how much of the topic profile's total volume post out of 240,000 mentions, what percentage is that particular keyword group contributing to. So if we take a closer look, let's click on inspect. We can see that some of the major mentions in the past 30 days are from Air Asia, which comprises about 34%. And then we also have Qantas, which contributes to around 32.9%. Then you also have each of these other competitors, what people are saying about them. And there's, as you can see for Qantas, you can see how the different responses from your customers, the different reactions from the Australian government, especially now that the travel industry or the airline industry is under attack with the coronavirus issue. And then what you can see here as well is the different countries that are most active. Obviously, with Qantas, the most active will obviously be from Australia. And these are the different top words that are being used within the competitor listening for the topic profiles. So this gives you an idea of how much you're actually performing, and if you're performing well or you're maintaining a good amount of posts compared to these other competitors. That could be a sign that whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. It's obviously working. There's a lot of people talking about you, but it can also mean that a lot of people are talking about you possibly negatively. So it's up to you to draw the insight on how to do that. Social Studio's analyze dashboards are several tools that allows you to actually identify or take a closer look at how each of these competitors and your brand are performing in social media. So that's competitor listening. So it's kind of similar to how you want to build your brand listening topic profiles, except for the fact that instead of the keyword groups being different, product types or different product names, this time when you're designing that topic profile, it's best to have each keyword group as a specific competitor, so that once you go to analyze, you have direct comparisons, share of voice or the different countries, or when you go to the Workbench and you drill down on the data, you can see which keyword group is contributing the most. When it comes to competitor listening, the most important thing is that you actually include also a keyword group about your brand. That is, so you can compare it with other keyword groups within the competitor topic profile listening. And then lastly, this is more of for the industry itself, industry listening, and how to create a topic profile for it. So the goal this time is to identify what your customers want to do or have that you can provide as a business. So in your industry, what can you as a brand in that industry provide for your customers? So you want to identify these particular people, or saying that they want this, or they want that, or they need this, or they need that. And when you're making the keywords for this, generally what you'll be using is our general keywords relating to your industry. So these aren't product names; these are general products. So if you're Apple and you're doing industry listening, instead of using keywords such as the iPhone or the iMac, this time you'll be using smartphones or laptops or desktops or sound devices, and statements such as what are, for example, later on you'll be seeing the travel industry example, an industry listening for the tourism and travel. So you'll be listening for how many people are saying they want to travel or they want to go on a vacation. So these are the type of keywords that you might want to consider when you're building that industry listening topic profile. And then for source groups, this can be a different page interest. So you have much more freedom as compared to brand listening or competitor listening. This time, if there's any specific page that you want to listen to, maybe let's say if you're in the travel industry again, you might want to listen to travel goals group or travel vacation goals group or something like that. And when you're drawing insight for industry listening, the idea is that you want to create a plan based on what your customer want and what your customers need. And this is actually goes back to what we call social selling, is identifying which customers want this or want that. So in this example, I'll be using the travel and tourism industry. Let's say I am a small business that's actually performing in the travel industry or travel agency industry in Australia. And how I built that particular topic profile is basically a number of things. What I first want to know in the travel industry is basically what are the main things. So beaches, heritage sites, and museums in Australia. These are the main travel or tourist destinations that I'm actually marketing towards my customers. And what I actually do is what I actually want to listen is, once all of this is once eventually things go back to normal, I want to find out at this stage is that what do people miss the most, or where do people miss going the most to. So with this, I can identify if it's beaches, heritage sites, or if it's museums. And other than that, I've also created a keyword group for general travel. So when you're saying want to travel, or want to go on a vacation, or I want to travel, or want to go on a vacation, and I've actually supplied proximity of 5 keywords in between these 2 keywords. And then for source group, I've actually included a specific source that has been spamming different travels, sending out, spamming different, I'm assuming these are scam travel coupons for different, different airlines and different. So I can include those people, scammers, but I can also include, Facebook pages for the journeys again and travel. So when we look at the tour and travel industry, as I mentioned, I want to take a look at in all these types of destinations that I'm offering my customers, which of these are actually have the most interest, or have the most are the most people talking about it as of now, so that when after everything goes back to normal, I can maybe create promos or create packages that features or focuses on which particular top one is the best one. So I'm going to include all of this one in the topic profile, filter it out in the dashboard, and what I can do is check on the keyword groups. So as you can see, the number one thing, and I think I can relate to this, is that people want to go to beaches. They actually miss going to the beaches the most. And so let's say I want to take a closer look at which particular, what when we're talking about beaches, what are the top words come to mind? So I can filter it down. Now that I know that beaches are the top things that are being talked about right now, for whatever keyword groups that I have in the beaches, keyword groups such as the Bondi Bay, or Bondi Beach rather, Byron Bay, Whitehaven Beach. What are the top words, or what people are saying the most? So you can see Bondi Beach is definitely one of the top things that people are talking about or want to go to. As you can see, there's a lot of comments coming out here on the side, on the feed, and moreover that, let's say I want to take a look at the travel industry. How many people are interested in actually traveling or miss traveling, so that maybe I can flag these users right now, so that when everything goes back to normal, I can offer them, hey, we know you missed traveling during these past few months, and now that everything's gotten great again, you can actually offer them packages. So let's say, for example, this person right here is saying, I want to travel again. And what you can do is actually tag this person right now as, let's say, a potential lead in the future. So that, at the end, you want to filter out, so you want to filter all the posts that are, saying that you want them to be a potential lead, so that in the end, you want to offer them or something special that's targeted for them specifically, or you want to do a campaign that's specific to this person. You can filter out all the people that you've tagged with that potential lead, so that you have an idea on which people to prioritize first. So basically, by doing that, you're able to see which people, or which personas in social media is actually want to travel again, or want to travel. So these are actually points of interest for you in order for you to do social selling. So this is basically what industrial listening is all about: listening to what people are saying, or interest, or your opportunities for you to be able to do some social selling, and basically how the industry currently is right now, what people miss the most in your industry, or what specific, let's say, you can even create an industrial listening that has the coronavirus as a topic or a keyword group, and how the coronavirus affected your industry. So that's basically it: brand listening, competitor listening, and social listening. And before I forget, I want to show you, as I mentioned a while ago, by doing social listening, you can actually spot which specific, before a crisis happen, and we can usually identify if a crisis happened if there's suddenly a large amount of volume coming in from your social media accounts or from topic profiles. A lot of people are talking about you. And the way you can monitor this is there is a feature in Social Studio called threshold alerts. So as you can see, threshold alerts will notify you once in a 24-hour period when the volume of posts changed by the specified amount that you put in. So let's say on average, you get around 1,000 posts on your social media accounts, 1,000 inquiries or comments or interactions. And on average, there's about 1,000 mentions of you on topic profiles of your brand every day within 24 hours. So normally, 1 million, posts or volume of posts is definitely something strange, and you want to be notified, even if it's positive, even if it's not negative, or even if it's a good thing. You still want to be notified beforehand once suddenly that large volume of posts come in. And threshold alerts, what this does is that once you set this, let's say if it exceeds that volume that I put in this case 1 million posts in a 24-hour period, what this does actually is that it will send you a notification email as well as a notification within Social Studio. So this is another feature that allows you to maximize social listening with Social Studio and identify crises before they even happen or as they are happening. And that's how topic profiles come in when it comes to the different focuses of social listening, which is the brand listening, competitor listening, and industry listening. And that's how you can build and optimize your topic profiles in order to accommodate those different types of listening. And then aside from social listening, I think I just want to briefly touch on this. There's also what we call social customer service. Basically, with social customer service, you're leveraging two Salesforce products, Social Studio and the Service Cloud CRM platform. Basically, what this entails is that with Social Studio, you harvest all activities from your pages, and it can be also from topic profiles, and perform the necessary tagging or classification of posts before and pushes that post to Service Cloud. And with Service Cloud, it gets registered as a case, or if there's a complaint or an inquiry, it gets registered as a case. And from then on, you can connect the different that person's social persona through a contact in your Service Cloud platform. And social media then becomes another channel in which you offer your customer service in. And wherein with Service Cloud CRM platform, you're able to leverage the 360 customer view of Salesforce, as well as various productivity tools designed to provide your customer a richer service experience. So this is the overall architecture of social customer service. So as you can see, Social Studio is responsible for listening on and off page, and on the back end of that, we have Social Studio Automate, which will be discussed in the next webinar, which does automations that performs certain rules based on conditions that we have set, and applies different tags or post labels, or the case type, or what the topic of that particular post is, or what the priority of that post is. And then once it gets pushed into Service Cloud, the case will automatically be created for that particular person, and you would see immediately priority of that post is high, and the topic of that the topic of that particular post is about, let's say, product complaint. And then from there, the agent can then use different tools such as the knowledge, milestone trackers, quick text, and macros within Service Cloud in order to provide and send out a response immediately back to that customer in social media. And basically you're offering social media as another customer service channel that your customer can reach you alongside with the other channels such as email, web, and live chat. So basically this is what social customer service is all about. It's a combination of multiple Salesforce products in order for you to provide a richer customer service experience. And I think that's the rest of the discussion for today's webinar. Let's take a look if there are any questions that have been asked. I'm not sure if there are any. Is it okay if we include interest in PSVR? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by PSVR, Supremo. Can you elaborate for me what PSVR is? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I understand now. So the PlayStation virtual reality goggles—that's what you're referring to. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Most definitely. You can include that as either a topic profile or as either. So basically, when you're creating the topic profile, when it comes to PlayStation VR, you can have that as a keyword group within the brand listening. Or what you can do is, if there are any specific pages that is solely dedicated to PlayStation VR goggles, you can add a source group. Or you can just add keywords again to the PSVR, to the PlayStation keyword group. Or what you want, if you want to dedicate an entirely separate topic profile, just simply dedicated for the PSVR, you can have that as well. You can create the topic profile with just the keywords related to the PlayStation virtual reality. So basically, that's how you can use different approaches when you want to listen in or interest in the PSVR. So this can work for any other products, not just for PlayStation. So basically, you can either create a topic profile or an ad hoc topic profile for that specific interest or topic, or in the brand listening or in another topic profile, you can just include it as a keyword group or as just a single keyword in that particular topic profile. Right, so I think we're done for today. I think we've reached the ample amount of time that we have scheduled in for today. Thank you for tuning once again to to AF Digital's Masterclass series. Once again, we have another scheduled. We have another session scheduled for next week, same day and same time. That is on Tuesday, and this one will be about a deep dive on Social Studio Automate and Social Studio Command Center. And these are actually very good tools that you might also be interested in. So if you want to check that out, feel free to join us again in the next webinar. And I'm also encouraging you guys to join the webinars that we have scheduled for tomorrow. That is for the how to manage your Service Cloud requests and how to configure Salesforce, which is for deep diving into the various features as well as field and validation. That will be on the 15th of April, again, tomorrow. So thank you guys for joining us. And I highly appreciate you for listening in. And I hope you learned something that can help your business grow or that can help or practice in your business. And once again, this has been Zeke. And thank you very much and have a good day.